the shores of Japan, welcome race fans, one and all, back to Green Flight TV and ESTV, where this afternoon we get set to duke it out for the final road course race of the season on Sunday afternoons. Welcome to the Classic Indycar Series and to the PRS Fuji race. My name is Ola Ramble alongside Ryan Walker. We're bringing you all of racing action from start to finish of the 76 lap bout around this beautiful circuit in Oyama, Japan. Ryan, Fuji has been a track dubbed the Temple of Speed for many reasons. It was, of course, one of the most treacherous racetracks all throughout its tenure back throughout the 60s. It wasn't until 2005, though, that we get this layout that we're so familiar with today. But despite it lacking a lot of the speed that it used to carry throughout the 60s, it still loses none of the thrill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those iconic tracks that you never get tired of watching racing at or racing at. On iRacing, it's always one of those tracks that produces fantastic racing. And yeah, quite a lot of series I've visited here in the past. The World Endurance Championship, Super GT, Formula Nippon, Formula Eagle, also quite a few other series as well. Has motorbike racing as well, and it's done it's hosted 24-hour races. And today it will be host to this latest round of the Classic Indycar Series.
Let's take a rundown of the point standings for the overall championship entering racing action this afternoon. Cameron Dance still holds on to the race lead, but only by 19 ahead of Ethan Hagen. The championship is still very much alive, and with both drivers present this afternoon, no doubt that championship is going to be one to watch this afternoon. But it is not the only championship we have on the line. We also have the individual road course championship that's going to be up for grabs. We're going to pull those standings up on the right-hand side. Right now, only 3 drivers are realistically in contention, and even then, it's only between the top 2. Once again, Dance and Hagen, but this time the gap is even closer. Instead of 19, right now, they're only 16 points apart entering the final road course race of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And towards the end of the season, I think the championship could obviously come down to the last round of the season. Obviously, you've got road course races, but also you've got oval races as well. Could they mix that championship battle up as well? And at the moment, Cameron Dance is you wouldn't say he's got a comfortable margin, but I think if he could just keep finishing in probably first or second place in the remaining rounds, I think he could take this championship. But obviously, you've got Thomas Mustonen, who's been on a great run of form, who could throw a spanner in that championship battle.
Still a lot to be decided when it comes down to racing action throughout the course of this afternoon. It's a bit of a lighter field today, but that means we'll have all the more time to talk a lot about strategy, and it is going to be all about the strategy game this afternoon. 2 stops are anticipated here on this afternoon, with the fuel run going to be roughly around 27-ish laps, give or take 2, depending on how much you really want to push in your car over the course of a stint throughout this 76 lap race. It's a long lap count, and this race is going to be clocking in probably around an hour 40, hour 50 minutes, thereabouts, depending on how everything pans out. But you know for a fact that a lot of these drivers, they're going to be having a time of it as they try to get themselves up and sorted for the last road course race of the season. And only 3 races left if you include tonight on the overall championship as well. There's not a lot of time left if you want to make up spots at those points battles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you might. Some of these drivers might not be in championship contention, but they probably want to try and get the best result possible and try and go on a good run of form in the final 3 races. Basically, like you say, and if you include this round tonight as well, try and get the best result as possible. And maybe some of the drivers that are not maybe as comfortable or maybe not as confident on the road courses, they could. That when it gets to the oval races towards the end of the season, that's when they could see their good form swing in their favour.
There's a lot of nuances about racing at Fuji. We've seen it so far twice in the Beer League on Wednesday nights with some major fields. Now we get set to see, though, what kind of race they get thrown with some good old open wheel racing. And we'll get to all of that in just a moment. Let's take a rundown of what that starting grid looks like as we'll get set to duke it out. 76 laps about to get underway. Starting on pole this afternoon, you're going to have none other than Thomas Mustonen out of Finland with a 1:23.213. So it's really a 1-2-3 type of run for Mustonen in qualifying. Cameron Dan's only 300s off the mark for Orbit Motorsport. Sits down at the number 2 spot. The Texas native Ethan Aiken sits back in 3rd with Vortex Sim Racing's Ian Hoffman in 4th. Johnny Garrett out of California is back at the number 5 spot with the Frenchman Lucas Laville in 6th. Jamie Wilson then here, Ryan, will round out the top half of the field out of the UK and Ireland, along with Randy Shoemake beside him in 8th.
Yep, and then you've got Marshall Stanley in 9th, and then rounding at the top 10 is Franz Joseph Stum, and then Rafael Rodriguez in 11th, and then Rob Bernical in 12th, with Luis Zambelli, the last of the drivers to settle that time, and rounding out the grid at the back is Jack Turner.
14 cars in total ready to make starts this afternoon, and all 14 have gridded up. It was a bit of a question mark as to whether Rafael Rodriguez was going to be making the start here this afternoon. He did disconnect from the session for a good while, all throughout practice and even a little bit into qualifying too. So we weren't sure if he was going to be making the start. That looks like it will indeed be the case. But it is again Mustonen to lead the way. And if you remember, this is a car that absolutely crushed it at Montreal about a month ago. He has been on fire on the road courses as of late. It's a shame we haven't seen more performance from him for the ovals. But do you think he'll take the win today from Fuji?
I mean, judging by his good run of form at the moment, I mean, he had a great run at Road America, and then I think he made, from what I remember, he made some mistakes, but still had a good result, I believe. But coming around the final corner, they're just about to get onto the start-finish line, and that safety car is about to pull in, and they will be underway in a few moments' time.
As always, we are happy that you're joining us for more racing action on a Sunday afternoon. The iRacing safety car going to pull into pit road, but it is still a very long way down this front straightaway before that green flag will drop. It's even a long wait of anticipation for the pace car itself to pull into pit road. Now it's a wait for those green lights to flick on at the top of the grid. Last road course race of the season. Ready to kick off. Mustonen jumps on the loud pedal. We are underway in Japan. It's a great getaway from Mustonen as well as he hightails it down the racetrack and in towards turn number 1 at Daiichi. And there is the lunge from the iconic Motorsports driver Ethan Aiken down to the turn number 1. And looking like a bit of locking up going on behind, some side by side. But for now, Mustonen leading the way through Coca-Cola Corner turn 2. No problems for the pole sitter.
Yep, and as they head through 100R, heading into turn 5 and then down to turn 6 to hairpin, it's still Mustonen leading with it looks like Cameron Dance in second place by the looks of it. But yeah, I think this is the dream start that Mustonen needed and wanted, because yeah, you know what Cameron Dance is like. He's got a good pace for sure, but I think once Mustonen gets in that mindset and gets in that zone, I think he'll be a hard man to try and stop.
Both the top two having some problems as they run through Dunlop, as Mustonen overshot and Cameron Dance kicked the tail end out a little bit. But for now, a good getaway from most of this field. All the battles were sorted by the time they got down to about turn 2, turn 3, and no problems elsewhere from there throughout this field. Mustonen will come off of that corner, and he will lead lap number 1 to green, already out by over a second ahead of your main points runner just in behind. So tell you what, it is going to be a time of it for for Cameron Dance, on back. Got a little bit of a fight here picking up Jamie Wilson, trying to see if he can attack Johnny Garrett, making the lunge down the inside over at turn number 1. He's got him down to turn number 1. That was the pass for 6th.
Yeah, that was a great move by Wilson. He got all onside and managed to get it stopped as well, and managed to make the move stick. A nice, clean, precise move by him. So yeah, slowly making gains through the field and coming through Coca-Cola. I think Jamie Wilson's probably he's one of those drivers that he's raced in various series, and yeah, he's a name I recognise quite well, and quite a very quick driver on his day. And I think a good when it comes to open wheels, he's a good midfield driver, always nice and consistent.
Marshall Stanley just a little ways behind, seeing what he can do as he tries to close in on Johnny Garrett. Again, some smoke from some front wheel lockups coming to the corner. That could open up the door for Stanley, looking for the long way around Johnny Garrett and his Aero X machine. as they make that run through that tight and twisty third and final sector. A sector that's garnered some controversy from the speed purists over here, thinking that this type of a racetrack kind of kills the nature of what Fuji was supposed to be. I'd argue, though, it adds the challenge and it adds to the thrill of the racing that you can have here through Nats and Panasonic. Now trying to get the long drafting run down the front stretch towards Daichi. Up the road, does Jan Hoffman have something for Ethan Agan on the approach to turn one? Making the look. This is for third. Hoffman's got him into turn number one easily.
Yeah, a nice clean move by Hoffman up into third place. Down further back, it looks like we've got a change for position going on between, it looks like Garrett and Shoemake.
That was Marshall Stanley getting around Johnny Garrett. Randy Shoemake still a little bit further down the pack, trying to stay ahead of Rafael Rodriguez and Franz Josef Stum. He's doing a good job himself on keeping that car up and into a top 10. He's up one position where he started this race. Not going to be disappointed with that one at all. But Stu, not a driver that likes being the follower for too long. And you have to wonder how long it's going to be before he sends the Hail Mary.
Yep, there's a ride on board with him heading down to the chicane. And if he thinks about making a move, it locks his front right up slightly. Thought about trying to make a move, but decided to not do anything too risky at this early stage of the race, as we're only on or basically coming up to the end of lap 3. So still early in the race to try anything risky. And as it looks like Rodriguez got a bit of a sideways moment there.
And Rodriguez kicking the tail right now just a little bit. And how about that? Franz Josef Stum around the outside of Panasonic. Going to look to pick up the 10th place spot. Great move there for Stum, but it's not over yet because the Indycar of Rafael Rodriguez still fighting the inside. And Stum is going to be forced to back out. Not going to be able to have that attempt down to the turn number 1. But what an effort that he had. Still looking to fight for it. Deep on the brakes. Rodriguez to take that one while Louis Zambelli picks off Rob Barnicow for the 12th place spot. He also had a fight for the number 5 position down to turn number 1. This is another attack from Jamie Wilson on Lucas Laville. Yep,
and Wilson gets up the inside, and Laville tries to hold it around the outside. You can actually hold it around the outside on the exit of turn 1 because of the nature and the camber of the corner, you can use that to your advantage to get a run in the exit, and Laville managed to hold the position.
Some thrilling racing going on throughout the first 4 laps of this race, and still a lot more yet to come as well from the Speed Palace as Lucas Laville continuing to try to battle with Jamie Wilson. Everybody within the top 5, save for Laville, has now separated by over a second from one another. Mustonen pulling out 1.8 already on camera. Dance the both of them, pulling out 5 seconds plus on Jan Hoffman as they make the bad scramble down the front straightaway, and Wilson will not get close enough to have a look on Lucas Laville in turn number 1. Problems for Jack Turner back of the pack as he has had a slide coming up towards nets.
Yeah, and it's such an easy corner to make that mistake just because you're braking and turning at the same time, and the rear end starts to go light. And yeah, I think if you turn too hard while you're braking, and you'll just lose the rear end. And unfortunately, he found it out, but managed to keep going and without any issues or any damage. But again, this battle between Laville and Wilson is still going on at the moment, and yeah, I think these two are pretty much close together. I think Wilson's on the. I think the best place for Wilson to try and make a move is down that home straight if he can try and get the slipstream. As it looks like Rodriguez walks up there and just goes slightly wide.
And that lets Louis Zambelli through into the number 11 spot. So Rodriguez, he went from being up by 1, now he is down by 1 of the day. Zambelli now up by 2. Rob Barnicow with a huge lockup into Dunlop as he's trying to see if he can close up the gap to Rodriguez as well up the road. Meanwhile, Stanley and Garrett still within a second. This is the fight for 7th, and up the road, he's still got Laville and Wilson fighting it out for 5th place as well. So there are still several battles on the racetrack that have yet to be decided. Jamie Wilson closing in a lot, making the look. Is this going to be a lunge? No, it will not. He pokes back in line, thought better of that one.
Yeah, I think Jamie got a great run down the home straight, but it's just it's just a case of trying to get close enough to try and make a move into turn one, but you've got to be really, you've got to be alongside to make the move into turn one. Otherwise, it's better to tuck back in like Jamie decided to do. And I think I'm wondering if these two are running the same sort of downforce levels as well, because it's an interesting thing with this Fuji track. You can it looks like Rodriguez has had an issue.
Yeah, Rafael Rodriguez going off the road, struggling to get that car pointing in the right direction. He's going to drop all the way back to last. He will get himself rolling now, but he is now back in the field. That lets Jack Turner up into another spot. Let's take a look, find out what happened to Rodriguez here. As that's a weird one, Ryan. That has all the readings of a hardware failure.
Yeah, I wonder if it was a hardware failure. Maybe Rodriguez is racing in VR, and I have heard of the drivers in the past, in other series having issues with VR. Maybe their VR start basically going black and basically or cutting out, and then basically having to pull over and reset it, or basically unplug it and then plug it back in again. But that was a weird one.
Whatever the case, definitely not the fault of Rodriguez on that one. Sometimes hardware will bite back, and it bit him back pretty big there. Watching Marshall Stanley trying to keep Johnny Garrett behind. Johnny Garrett's been charging the last little while. He's trying to see if he can't close in on the Vortex Series number 25. Right on board over the right shoulder of Johnny Garrett. They're on the approach into the hairpin. Wide out goes Stanley. A snap of oversteer. He'll get it back underneath him, but he'll give up the spot in the process.
Yeah, and I think it looks like Stanley was just too busy. It looks like Stanley was maybe just too busy, possibly, as we like to call it, mirror driving, looking in the mirror too much, and just overshot his entry. As it looks like Rodriguez is into the pits.
Rafael Rodriguez coming down into pit road. This will be for an unscheduled pit stop for the driver, the number 80. And I would not be surprised if we saw him retire from this race and pull that car behind the garage. He probably came down to try and get those issues fixed. I wonder if what he's had to do, if he is racing in VR like you alluded to earlier, I wonder if he's had to take the headset off and effectively try to drive around using a shaky computer monitor where you can still see the output, so we can try to get it sorted, get back to the pits. Now he's in a safe place where he can actually make those adjustments that he needs to get that issue fixed. So that was well held from Stanley. That could have been a full spin, but he did a great job to catch it. Jack Turner with another problem. Same place as last time, and the same mistake, just dropped it on entry.
Yeah, that's twice now he's made that mistake, so I wonder if it's maybe just a case of him having too much, maybe just having slightly too much brake bias on the rear, which is what caused him to spin twice there. But still going nevertheless, and yeah, currently down in 13th place at the moment with Rodriguez having his issues and pulling into the pits. So yeah, good to see most of the drivers, basically apart from Rodriguez, still going. So that's a good thing to see.
They usually have had at least one or two retirements by now in these road course races. They've been pretty bad for attrition this season. This has not been an easy road course schedule that the Classic Indycar Series has thrown up for these guys. It's been a real challenge for so many, but a lot of these guys have been doing a great job to weather these difficult conditions. And of course, 2025, it's not looking to really be too much easier either. The 2025 calendar is, of course, going to be a bit of a wild one as well. You start at Willow Springs, which that's the preseason race. The first actual race will be at Phillip Island, which is a place that I actually called the race on, I think back in 2021, I want to say. Boy, that race was an absolute wild one. Then, of course, Barber Motorsports Park, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're going to have, of course, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve making a return. Mid-Ohio will be back. So not a lot of international races, and in fact, I believe next season, from the looks of things, Canada's going to be the only international race. So, well, one of two, sorry, because, of course, Phillip Island, well, it's on the other side of the planet. But it's going to be a wild season in 25 as well. Cannot wait for that. But for now, still got to wrap up the 2024 campaign with 3 races to go.
Yeah, there's battle for 7th places at the moment. It's still going on between Garrett and Stanley at the moment, and yeah, credit to Stanley for holding. No, sorry, Garrett for holding the position. As it looks like Stanley's trying to kind of go offline, trying to kind of set up a run. And at this corner, you can take different lines with. I find you can take a wide entry and then basically cut it up. Oh, it looks like Stanley got a bit of a airborne over the sausage curbs.
Yeah, Johnny Garrett not having a good run of that one at all. That will easily allow for Stanley to pull alongside. And that should be an easy overtake for position. Stanley's run, though, stalling out a little bit down the pit straight. And in fact, Garrett's is somehow going to hang on to that one unless he swings it out wide again in Daichi, but he'll still hang on through turn 2. So that car looks to be pretty darn planted to the ground, all things considered. Troubles for Louis Zambelli. This is in Dunlop. Possibly on the exit of the Dunlop chicane. Yep, just looped it around, picked up the throttle too aggressively, and then Franz Josef Stum making a pass on Randy Shoemake. This was the overtake for 9th into turn number 1, and Shoemake, he didn't fight that one all that much.
Yeah, I think Shoemake probably realised that Franz is probably the quicker driver at the moment and just decided not to make a big deal of it. I mean, we're only coming up, we're basically started the lap 11, so still a long way to go in this race, and there's still plenty of battles going on at the moment. It looks like Garrett is still under pressure from Stanley, and I think looks like Stanley got a decent run there on the exit of the final corner, and is right on board with Garrett at the moment. It looks like Stanley might try and make a move, but he's not really close enough.
Just can't close in enough in a Daichi here. Makes a little peak, but that, I think, more to try to fill the mirrors and try to pressure that 68 car into making a mistake. He's going to step the back end out again, Stanley will, on the exit of turn 1. Tell you what, this 25 car is really pushing right now. And you can tell he is on the razor's edge right now, trying to take that 7th place spot back. He's not happy about how he lost it, I reckon, with how he made that mistake to give it up in this very corner.
Yeah, he's probably frustrated at the moment, and I think, that frustration is probably put into kind of put into good use, I guess. As you can use that frustration in a way to try and push yourself and try and find a bit more pace. But on the other hand, if you start getting that frustrated too much, that's when you end up making mistakes. And I think Stanley, if he gets a good exit on the exit of the final corner and he gets a run down the home straight, he may try and make a move on Garrett heading into turn 1. As it looks like he's a lot closer this time around, he might try and, I wonder if he'll try and take a wide entry. He does take a wide entry and tries to kind of square the corner off, and this time around he's a lot more closer this time around, Nolan.
I'd be really, really surprised if Stanley did not take this one into turn 1 this time by. He is alongside, but we've seen that doesn't necessarily mean everything. Dead heat down into the braking zone. Stanley holding the inside, a little bit of a lockup, but a bigger one as Johnny Garrett swings wide. And finally, Marshall Stanley has broken back through for the number 7 spot on lap number 12. So a good run there for Stanley. Now, his next target, no doubt, Jamie Wilson, just over 3 seconds up the road.
Yep, and I think, excuse me, yeah, it looks like Stanley, I think Stanley might try and pull away, and needs to try and, as he runs wide again, and I thought he was going to run wide there over the curve, but manages to keep a hold of it. But yeah, I think Stanley needs to try and put some clean laps together now and try and pull away from Garrett behind him as they head into the chicane. I think he needs to try and put some clean laps together and try and close that gap down to Jamie Wilson.
Oh boy! Hops over the sausage curbs. And that could cost him pretty big. It's not going to have much of an impact this time around, but you got to be careful doing that, right? Because, I mean, while those curbs are fine for GT or club cars over here, but for open wheel cars, they could easily send you skyward. And we saw all 4 wheels leap off the ground for a split second there. Gotta be careful about that. We've already seen a couple of incidents this afternoon with people getting unsettled from those, and I think that put him off his rhythm because look at Johnny Garrett attacking again. Stanley in hard. He's going to step the back end down. Just keeps it on terra firma, but Johnny Garrett is back through.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, Johnny Garrett's back through, and it looks like Stanley's trying to make a move or trying to kind of just play with him, playing his mirrors and try and distract him, but yeah, Garrett managed to regain that position, and this has been a fantastic battle between these two. This has been going on since the start of the race, and yeah, apart from that, apart from this battle, there's not really anything going on at the moment from what I can see, so it's pretty much spread out, but yeah, Garrett saw the opportunity, he got the run down the home straight and managed to get the move done into turn 1, and yeah, managed to pull it off.
Trouble for Zambelli, giving up a spot to Rob Barnacow. So what has happened here to Zambelli? This is a little bit further back than I was intending. Oh, just lost it off of turn 1. Hard to tell if he just picked up the throttle too aggressively there or if he took too much curbing on the exit. But based on where that car was at, I'm willing to bet it was the former.
Yeah, I think it was just a case of maybe just getting on the power too much or being too heavy-footed, putting the power back down. But he's still going nevertheless. But I think he's probably getting frustrated at this point. And you got to remember these cars as well. They've got a lot of power. So yeah, you've got to be very careful putting the power back down, because if you put the power, or if you get back in the power too hard, the rear wheels can spin up a lot. And Zambelli found out a few times now that this car can bite.
Thomas boosted in last lap by, put down the fastest lap of the race, a 1:23.7. That is quicker than anything that we saw all throughout about the near 3-hour practice session earlier on, and it's only about half a second off of his pole time as well. So Mustin right now is flying. He's already put down 20 seconds on 6th place, 4 seconds alone on 2nd, and 14 and a half on 3rd. This is a storming time that Mustin has got. He's about to lap Jack Turner as well. As you can see him just exiting stage right.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about with Mustonen as well. Once he gets into that mindset and gets in the zone, it's so hard to stop him and keep up with him, because he's just basically, his road course form anyway has been absolutely fantastic, and he's been just on the road courses as well. He's been absolutely fantastic. So he's on a bit of a roll at the moment, and even though we've got a long way to go in this race still, could he take another win tonight on another road course? I wouldn't rule it out. As he locks up into the chicane ever so slightly, but manages to get the car turned in, and as Turner lets him go. Good heads-up driving there by Turner, and yeah, the gap between Mustonen and Dance is about 3.7, 3.8 seconds. So yeah, Thomas is doing a good job at the moment, and just every lap that goes by is increasing that gap.
Cameron Dance, not for lack of trying, though, really trying to get back to him. He has put down a 1:23.89, his personal best lap of the race the last time by, but 2/10 off the mark for Mustonen. Mustonen has set the fastest lap time again on the last at a 1:23.69, but this last time a 1:24.04. So Cameron Dance just improved on his PB again, does close by about 0.2 of a second. But when you're talking about a 4-second gap, that is really not all that much. This battle for 7th closing again as Marshall Stanley set to run him back down in towards turn number 1. Oh, defensive line for Garrett. Here goes Stanley having to go the long way around into turn 1 at Daichi. Stanley trying to carry the momentum through. Can he get the job done? He's got him. Great move around the outside of 1. Take another look at this great pass. Garrett went defensive, and Stanley was not going to be denied. Just took the long way around like a champ, locked up the right front, was able to carry some of that momentum through. And while all that was going on, Louis Zambelli with another problem through Dunlop.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a case of getting back on the power just too hard again, and oh, it's on that curve again, though. One. So, yeah, I know some of the, I know some of the curves around this Fuji track can be a bit lethal when getting back in the power, and Zambelli, I think just trying a little bit too hard.
Thomas Mustinen, fastest lap of the race once again. Last time by 1:23.642 for Mustinen. He is continuing to extend that lead at the front, and I think this is going to be a repeat of Montreal, where he will lap nearly the entire pack before this race is over, because already he's got all the way up to 9th, about half a lap behind him, and we're not even at the first pit stop window yet.
Yeah, absolutely, and still this battle between Stanley and Garrett is still going on at the moment, still, amazingly. Both of them have been pretty much swapping positions every lap, or thereabouts, as they come through this long right-hander, and yeah, I think it's been fantastic racing between these two, and it's been good, respectful driving as well between the both of them. There's not been any trying to. Oh, as I say that, Stanley runs wide ever so slightly, so yeah, I was close to jinxing it there.
Got to be careful with that. He's already lost this spot a couple times with mistakes like that. He would have wanted to lose it again. Another lockup, though. I mean, these cars struggle so much in the Dunlop, but Johnny Garrett got a bad run going there, and now Zambelli just clean through the grass, cutting straight across. So Dunlop is being a problem, and Mustinen resetting the fastest lap again with a 1:23.54. That's now 0.3 of a second up on the second fastest lap of the day, set by Dance.
Absolutely, and yeah, I think Dance is I think if you're Cameron Dance and you pretty much obviously Dance is in the lead of the championship, I think you want to try and keep that gap with Mustinen if you can, even if you're losing maybe a couple of tenths of a lap to Mustinen. But I think on the other hand, you don't want to start overdriving in case you make a mistake, and then if you make a mistake and possibly wreck out of the race or cost yourself some positions, I think that could possibly hamper his chances of taking the championship. But on the other hand, you want to try and keep that pace up in case something happens to Mustinen, and you're there to seize that opportunity.
Out of curiosity, let's see, will he reset this lap again? It would not surprise me. He's extended that lead this time around. Coming down to the stripe. It's a 1:23.539 to beat. Not going to get there. Only a 6.71. I say only a 6.71 as if that wasn't the fastest lap, 10 laps ago. But here we are. So battle's continuing on all the way throughout the racetrack, and right now, things started to die off. Jan Hoffman running in third, trying to keep ahead of Ian Hoffman. There you see Francoso Stuen pulled to the side, let him by lead lap traffic. You can see the Vortex Simerson guys running some different colors this afternoon. They've got more of a pink and white scheme on their cars, and that's something that we've reflected as well with our broadcast overlays in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the Classic Indycar Series. So they're going to be running these all throughout the month of October. And they do look mighty fine as well. So cars still looking good and still looking strong, especially as well running up on the podium. How about this, Ryan? Your battle for 7th. It's never too far away.
Yeah, this battle is still going on at the moment as well. And Garrett got a bit of a slow run there through that left-hander. And it looks like, I thought Stanley was going to try and go round outside. And Stanley runs wide.
Stanley too wide, and that gives the spot to Garrett. Let's take a look at this battle from start to finish here. It took place over the course of the whole first sector. Garrett had the lunge. He'll make that move down to the turn 1. Stanley again tried to carry from the long way, but got in too deep. Still picked up some good speed on corner exit. Turn 2. You can see, again, Stanley trying to hunt for the inside, but this time it's Garrett to pick up that momentum from the high side. And then Stanley, as he's chasing, pushes a bit wide, gets on the curb in the AstroTurf, and then nearly have that slide over there and able to keep that car under control. But that has put him now over a second behind Johnny Garrett.
Yep, and yeah, as they come down the home straight, it looks like yeah, Garrett's just got a bit of a margin, but I think Stanley, you know, he's done it before. He can close that gap back up to Garrett as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these two get close up together again in a few laps time. But I think yeah, Garrett just needs to kind of just get his head down and get some clean laps and try and maybe just build that gap and see if he can close that gap down to Jamie Wilson in front of him.
Only about 7 laps away from first pit stops as well. Again, the pit window looked to be lap 27, give or take 2, depending on how much you've been pushing. I'm thinking it's going to be take, though, for Garrett and Stanley. They have not been able to get away from each other. It's got to be frustrating when you're constantly in battle with one driver the course of this race, and both of you are thinking, leave me alone. I want to run away with this spot already. They have not been giving each other a break at all this afternoon. But tell you what, a lot of these guys up here in the top 5, they've been keeping each other very honest as well. 1.7, that's really not a big gap at a road course race. And 3rd through 5th, they haven't really been separated by more than that all night long. So they've been keeping each other very honest in the event of mistakes. Trouble for Zambelli, and he's into the wall.
I wonder if it's that same old mistake of getting on the power, and this time that wall was butting him.
Oh, look
as
at
he's
the
got
right front.
Yeah, that right front suspension damage. That wouldn't surprise me if that's a meatball flag.
Oh, for sure. That I think could very well be a day ender. I think Zambelli's just had to bite the bullet there with that one. I mean, it's just barely hanging on. He'll be able to navigate pit entry just fine at low speeds. I'll take a look at what happened here to Zambelli. Just too much curb. That's all it was. It's not even that hard of a hit, but that's just how sensitive these cars are. He wasn't even really on the throttle. The car just balanced. He was still in the midst of turning. The weight never got time to settle. It's an easy mistake to make at Fuji, though. A lot of curbs in the 3rd sector are like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think Zambelli, I think it's just a case of trying too hard. Just look at the 20 car of again, and locking up slightly in the middle of turn 1, but manages to get the car turned on. But just behind him, he's got it looks like Laville closing down on him.
Zambelli still sitting in pit road, so it looks like we will be down to just 12 cars on the racetrack out of the 14 that started this race. Pit window going to be opening in about 3 to 5 laps here. Who do you think comes in first, though? Will it be the front runners trying to ensure that they can stay out in front, or will it be the guys further down the rear trying to go for undercut strategies on each other?
That's a good question. I was about to bring that up as well, and I think if you're the front runners like Mustonen and Dance and Hoffman as well, I think pretty much anyone that's close up to the front, I think you just keep going as long as possible until basically you're on the edge of running the tank dry, and then basically coming to the pits. I think pit stops we were talking about, Nolan, I think the first set of pit stops should be around about the, was it lap 23 to 26 or 27?
About 25 to 30, thereabouts.
Or 25, 30, sorry.
27 is real. 27 to 28 is where we're really going to be seeing the meat of this field coming down the pit road, though.
Yeah, I mean, around this Fuji track, I think, again, we were talking about it, but it should be, excuse me, it should be a two-stop race by the looks of it, but obviously you might see a driver, like maybe just like maybe stuck in a battle, maybe try and do something different, maybe try and pit early and get an undercut on someone in front of them. Maybe the battle between Garrett and Stanley, for example, you might see Stanley trying to pit early to try and get an undercut on Garrett, as we ride on board at the moment with the car in front of us being Jamie Wilson, I believe.
Right now, Wilson's been losing, a bit of tie back to Johnny Garrett, so Garrett is improved for the battle for 7th, and now the battle for 6th. Trying to run down the Chimera Motorsports driver just up the road of that number 87 entry. He's doing a good job of keeping out in front, but his team in Chimera car are going to be struggling, I think, to keep Garrett behind for too long. I mean, he is charging right now for sure. Not showing any signs of slowing down, and he's going to actually go for it into Panasonic. That was a bold lunge down the inside of the final turn. It didn't happen. He'll try to tuck back in line to get the draft down the run to turn 1, though.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that he tried to make a move on Wilson there into that final quarter, but still, with him doing that, he just compromised his exit, and that's cost him a chance of trying to make a move on the Wilson into turn 1. But yeah, Wilson runs slightly wide mid-corner in turn 1, but manages to keep a hold of it. Yeah, I wonder if Wilson's maybe trying to save a bit of fuel, possibly, or if it's just him not having that pace at the moment.
It's another good battle that started to develop, though. Only about 2 to 3 tenths of a second between 6th and 7th place right now. Take a quick look. Something has happened to Rob Barnicow. This is through Net's corner on the exit. I'm willing to bet for this one. Same thing. Too much curb. Around he goes, but he did keep it out. I thought he kept it out of the wall, but then he drove forward a bit too much. Now, we see if Johnny Garrett will be a little bit more patient this time in trying to get around Jamie Wilson. Making the look. Up to the final corner. No look this time for Garrett, and he has got a beautiful drive out the final corner. He's going to be alongside before they even hit the start-finish line.
Yep, and they coming across the start-finish line. It looks like, again, Garrett actually decides to tuck back in behind him, so maybe just decide that he wasn't close enough to make a move. But again, Wilson runs wide on the entry to turn 1, and it compromises his exit ever so slightly. So yeah, definitely Garrett's been on a charge after getting by Stanley, and Stanley's still not too far behind. So it could be a free car battle soon if Wilson keeps holding Garrett up.
Pit window is officially open as well. So we're about to see the first few coming down to take some fresh Firestones and some more Sunoco race fuel into those tanks. Oh, Garrett thought about it at a Dunlop. You saw him make that peak. It was just a door that was always going to close. He did not want to try to force that issue at all. Jamie Wilson, see what he can do. Garrett still sitting just behind, 3.5 tenths, now 2.5 tenths. Quarter of a second extends back up to 4. The gap ebbing and flowing through this sector. What Garrett's trying to do, he's trying to back up these corners so we can get a good run down the main straight, but it's so hard to do. Jamie Wilson just cannot get a good run through Panasonic, and that kills Garrett's momentum off of the final corner every time. I think this time he might have him, though.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a good run heading down to turn 1, and can he get the move done on the inside of Jamie Wilson? It looks like he's got the move done, and Wilson tries to do a bit of a switch back on the exit of turn 1. And it looks like he might have a run heading down to this left-hander and long right-hander, and it looks like Wilson decides to tuck him behind. And I have to say, it looks like Garrett just ran wide slightly, and that gives Wilson the opportunity to take that move, take that position back.
That was textbook there from Jamie Wilson.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move.
That was incredible. Baited him perfectly into a mistake. Take another look. Watch, we're going to ride on board with Jamie Wilson here. He's applying the pressure. Watch Johnny Garrett up the road. Sends it too deep into turn 2. Hops across the curb once and then again on the exit. And that stalled his momentum enough that Jamie Wilson got to run back on it. That is how you go after another spot. That was beautiful. Musinen, your race leader, the first one to come down to pit road, and here comes Ethan Hagen to join him.
Yep, Musinen in the pits, and that gives Dan the lead for now. So I wonder, the question is, will Dance try and maybe go for another another 2 or 3 laps to try and maybe try and get ahead of Musteren? But I think, yeah, Musteren, the pace that he's going at the moment, I think he'll retake that lead now with no problems.
So we got the track map up on the far side of the racetrack. See the number 6 car right there coming up towards Net's corner, the final sector. That is right now your race leader. You're about to see as well more cars coming down the pit road. Franz Josef Stum is into the lane. So more and more drivers are making these trips down into the pits. Johnny Garrett is currently in for service. Franz Josef Stum is in just a little ways behind. He's already a lap down. Here comes your race leader, Cameron Dance. Jan Hoffman currently in second, along with Luke Seville. They're running second and third on the racetrack, but right now I believe it'll be about Net third and fourth. They are both still yet to make pit stops here. This is a great visual to show you just how much time you can win or lose in pit road. As already Moosonen is out of the final corner, and Dance is only just now pulling into his box.
Yep, and what's in Moosonen coming across the line now? It looks like yeah, Moosonen back up into the lead now, as I say that, and Dance is just leaving the pit. So I wonder what the gap will be after the pit stop, because it looks like it's about what's in the gap? It's about 4.3, 4.6. It's up to 5 seconds now, so it's pretty much that's what the gap was before the pit stops. Is some of the Vortex sim racing cars that leave the pits right now.
Marshall Stanley, still waiting for him to complete his pit stop, and that will leave Jamie Wilson, along with Rob Barnicow and Jack Turner, as the lone cars that have yet to come down to pit road. Randy Schubig is into pit road for his first of 2 mandatory stops this afternoon. Marshall Stanley just leaving pit road of the number 25 car up the road. You saw Cameron Dance exit pit road right in a heap of traffic as well. So Cameron Dance having a little bit of a close one here with some lead lap traffic. This was him. Watch for Jamie Wilson. We're still yet to come down to pit road, mind you. There's Rob Barnicow, a lap car. It's a bit of a close shave coming out of pit road right in the midst of a bunch of lap traffic like that.
Yeah, that was a bit yeah, that was a bit close as well, for sure. And I think yeah, that might have cost the Dance some time as well. But yeah, as Jamie Wilson dives into the pits as well from 3rd place, and it looks like yeah, I think Wilson should come out round about probably for P5, P6, P7, I think, as he's leaving the pits now, just coming to the pit exit, and it looks like Stanley's coming up to the pit exit now, and I think Jamie Wilson should get out in front of him by the looks of it.
Yeah, and Hoffman going to beat the punch out of pit road. Jamie Wilson still in his box. He was on his way into pit road. So yeah, Hoffman is, well, there's Stanley now coming off the corner, and now Jamie Wilson is coming out of pit road. Rob Barnicow just a little ways behind. Oh, this will be a bit close here, because remember, Stanley's fully up to speed. Here comes Wilson. He's going to get him out of pit road by about 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's I wonder if Wilson underfueled slightly to try and get the track position, but that was 3 seconds. That was a big time gain in the pit stop.
Well, we have this time here, going to quickly take a chance to shout out Pave and Recycling Systems, the main sponsors for most of the races for the Classic Indycar Series in the 2024 campaign, founded in 1989 to the Southern California market. Now, PRS has subsequently grown into the premier general engineering subcontractor for cold milling, soil stabilization, roller compacted concrete, and cold in-place asphalt recycling in California and Nevada, with a presence as well in Utah, Oregon, and Washington. In 2007, PRS added the highly regarded Pavement Preservation Company, Pavement Coatings Company, PCC, added pavement preservation services throughout California, and specializes now in the use of RAP aggregates via their Reclaimed Aggregates Division. Both PRS and PCC are owned by PRS Holdings Incorporated and are proud to be 100% employee-owned. For more, visit paperrecycling.com. Once again, that is paperrecycling.com. Ryan, we are just shy of the halfway point. I would say probably about 7-8 laps or so away. So we are marching steady on through this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on basically just about to come to the end of lap 30, and yeah, this race has actually been flying by at the moment, quicker than expected, and yeah, there's been plenty of racing throughout the field as well. I mean, they've got plenty of battles going on at the moment, but this battle for 6th place between Jamie Wilson and Stanley and Garrett behind him has been pretty close for a while now, and it looked like I don't know what happened to Jamie in the first stint. It looked like maybe his pace has dropped off. Maybe these cars with light fuel, when they start having a light fuel tank, maybe get a bit sensitive as the fuel burns off. So maybe Jamie Wilson just maybe started feeling a little bit uncomfortable with less fuel. But as I say that, he's under pressure from Stanley yet again, and Stanley takes a wide entry to square that corner off and try and carry that speed. As it looks like, as I say that, Garrett's closed in as well, and it's a free car battle for 6.
Marshall Stanley continuing to close in the gap as they fight for the top 6 spot here. Here comes Stanley with that run. Is it enough for a look? He picks the poke. He's not going to commit to the dive. Couldn't make it down into Daichi. Tell you what, for only having 14 cars start this race, this has been fantastic so far. A lot of these midfield battles have been stellar. And again, outside of pit stops, these guys have not been able to break away from each other at all.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah, considering we've only had about 14 cars, the race has been fantastic, like you say, and at the moment, Stanley as well, just watch the Stanley as well, is under pressure from Garrett yet again, and these two are pretty much, since the start of the race, and they've been pretty much inseparable by the looks of it, and there's been fantastic racing between these two cars, and Jamie Wilson as well was in this battle as well now, so yeah, free car battle going on, and I'm noticing some slight mistakes from Wilson. He keeps missing like some corners, he keeps missing his turning sometimes, so maybe starting to feel that pressure.
Riding on board with Marshall Stanley. Again, trying to get the diamond off of the corner. Jamie Wilson, though, on the loud pedal. Waiting for that draft to kick in. Wilson actually pulling away a little bit down the straight. I think now we're seeing Stanley closing in. Making that poke to the inside, trying to go for the dive into turn number 1. He's alongside Stanley. Oh boy, kicks the tail end out a bit on entry, and they're not done fighting yet.
Yeah, fantastic battle between these two, breeding these free cars, and I thought they were going to go free wide there for a moment, but yeah, fantastic racing between these two, and Stanley yet again takes that position from Garrett.
So that onboard, I think that tells us a lot about what Jamie Wilson is doing. Did you see how much that car started to actually pull away a little bit from Marshall Stanley before Stanley was able to really try to run him down? He is running a very low downforce setup. That's why he's losing so much time in the corners. His strategy right now, pull ahead so far on the straights that they can't do anything in the tighter sections of this third sector. Because, I mean, it's such a one-line section of racetrack, and each corner flows so quickly to the next, you don't really have time to set up an overtake. So long as he can stay out in front, he should have no problems. Oh my goodness. I can guarantee you, though, if Marshall Stanley ever gets by Jamie Wilson and Wilson keeps it in 310s, he's going to breeze right by him like he's standing still on the front stretch.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a mistake by Stanley. Allowed Garrett to close up, and Garrett's about to retake that position into turn 1. And it looks like can Garrett hold the inside line and keep the inside? Yes, he can. And yeah, good move by Garrett, but Stanley gets a switch back.
I think that explains why Marshall Stanley has been swinging out so wide into these corners. Careful, watch the curbing. He's recognized that Wilson is on a downforce lacking setup. So what he knows he has to do, he can't rely on draft to overtake Wilson. We've seen it before that onboard. It's not a reliable way. He has to take it through momentum. That's why he's taking such wide angles to try to get the straightest exit line physically possible. Oh, boy.
Whoa.
What a tank slapper there for Stanley.
Yeah, I was about to say, Stanley got a massive tank slap for there, and he somehow keeps control of it. But these two scrapping away is allowing Wilson to pull away as I look at a replay.
Jan Hoffman into turn 2. Whoa, boy. Big slide out for the 05, but he keeps it off the wall.
Yeah, and it's such an easy mistake to make in that corner because you're just carrying so much speed, and the car goes light on you, and sometimes it can come round on you. And Hoffman done amazing to keep a hold of that. But again, this battle with Garrett and Stanley still going on, and can Garrett keep that position? He's got the move done on the inside. He gets it slowed down, but again,
boy. Stanley is playing with fire right now with those exit curbs.
Yeah, you don't want to get in those exit curbs too much because they can bite when you don't expect it.
Take a look on board. This very easily could have been a disaster. Jeez. Oh boy, he actually may have just lost it though. This is about half a minute later into the hairpin. He is now 8 seconds back. And it's because of this. Just too aggressive, and that will finally bring a close to the battle for 7th. Leave it to the 2-horse race now. Now that Garrett doesn't have Sandra to worry about, what does he have for Jamie Wilson?
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Garrett can close his gap back down. But yeah, that mistake by Stanley, it's such an easy mistake to make because you're turning in, and sometimes you can clip those clip the sausage curbs on the inside, and also getting back in the power when you do that, it unsettles the car, and basically, unfortunately, most of the time you're a passenger, and Stanley found it out. But still, this battle between Wilson and Garrett's about to spice up again. As Garrett gets sideways, and then Jamie Wilson in front of him locks up as well. So yeah, a bit of synchronised mistakes.
Well held though from Johnny Garrett. That was a great job at catching the snap oversteer. So kind of refreshing ourselves on what the road course championship looks like, because that's, of course, the big talking point today. This is before the drop weeks were added in. This are the points entering this race this afternoon. Cameron Dance entered this race with the lead, 16 points clear of Ethan Egan. He's got 201 entering today. Ethan Egan running back in 4th. And Jan Hoffman, he's running 3rd, but he is effectively out of the fight right now. Now, the big question, where do the drop weeks come down? Because right now, Dance's 2 races that he would need to drop, they're both ovals. So that's for the overall championship. So that is, I think, very, very important to remember, is that Dance right now, I'll have to get the specifics on if they drop specifically road course races for the road course championship, because obviously that throws everything into whack. But at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course race, that race has been dropped by Ethan Egan. So right now, I don't see much that stops Dance from taking that championship by a pretty decent margin. Well, we're about 1 lap away from the halfway mark, so let's take a run down top to bottom through this field and give you an idea of who's where and how everything is looking for racing action so far this afternoon. Right now, Musinin leading the way. Cameron Dance running the number 2 spot. Hoffman in 3rd. Egan 4th. LaVille in 5th. Wilson and Garrett and Stanley. For the last cars on the lead lap, Stum, Schubig 1 lap down. Barnekow and Turner 2 down. Zambelli and Rodriguez currently out of the fight. When we step back, we'll be back in a moment with more on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flight TV and ESTV. The battle is on for 6th. You saw Johnny Garrett take the spot away. They battled it out through the third and final sector, but then Jamie Wilson able to drive right back around him as I predicted on the front stretch. So this is looking like it's going to be a battle that is going to continue to extend further and further into this race, with Marshall Stanley now nowhere to be found.
Yeah, this battle's been going on for quite some time now, and these guys have been pretty much switching back and forth all the time. And we're talking about it as well, Logan, that Jamie Wilson, judging by the way he was pulling away in the straight, he's pretty much gone away or gone with a low downforce configuration. As I say that, it looks like Garrett was trying to make a move there, slowing his nose.
That was a weird one. He actually backed off a little bit down the main straightaway and then made a very late attempt to dive down the inside. I think he was trying to scare Jamie Wilson into running wide, trying to catch him off guard. So I think he's realized conventional overtaking tactics, where you can be passed on the next straightaway with the low downforce, it's not going to work. You got to try to find another way around him.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Jamie Wilson is a hard driver to get by, no doubt about it, but it's just a case of trying to figure out where you can try and make a move and try and make him maybe go offline or run very wide that he can't come back on in front of you. But still, it's been a great race by these two at the moment, great battling, and I have to say I do like that livery of Jamie Wilson, by the way. It's the Japanese sign writing. It looks simple, but it looks like Garrett got sideways there.
Johnny Garrett kicking out the tail end a little bit more, but yeah, Jamie Wilson said he was going to break that car out. He said it was from an old season, actually. I'm going to try to find exactly where it was the Suzuka Special scheme that he had ran some time ago, and now he's breaking it out for Fuji again. I mean, you know what? Who cares if it was for Suzuki or not? It still looks good.
Yeah, I was about to say it looks simple, but very, very, very striking as well. As it looks like he's built away from Garrett ever so slightly, but Garrett, with that mistake, obviously it gave Wilson a chance to just have a bit of breathing space. But you know what Garrett's like, he'll close that gap back down, no doubt about it.
Hagen and LaVille starting to close in as well. So we're about to get another battle for the number 4 spot. Haven't had much of a chance to talk about the top 5 too much today, but I think it is worth noting that, again, we mentioned that these guys haven't been separated by more than 1.7 seconds throughout the first pit stop stint. While Hoffman may have extended that gap to 2.7, Hagen is still within striking distance of Lucas LaVille behind. And he's been doing a good job on keeping him honest as well, LaVille has. So Hagen only a second ahead of LaVille, and the Frenchman could be looking to go on the offensive here pretty soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, LaVille currently 5th at the moment, but it looks like he could be under pressure quite soon. But again, and LaVille are together, and it looks like both of them could be close together again. But apart from that, apart from these couple of battles, it feels pretty much spread out at the moment. And yeah, that gap, I was looking at the gap as well between the two leaders, is down up to about 9.5 seconds now. So Mustonen is still, Mustonen's pretty much been in control of his race so far. As we're in the middle of lap 42 at the moment, and Cameron Dance, probably frustrating for him, but on the other hand, you'd probably think, Nolan, with him being the championship leader, you would probably think of coming towards the end of the season, you'd probably think of that championship game.
I think Cameron Dance has done everything that he has needed to so far this season. He has shown no signs of slowing down. He had such a strong start to his Classic IndyCar Series season in 2024, all the way back at Circuit of the Americas. You know, he was battling for the win there for a good while with Joshua Chin. It didn't end up going his way, but he finished a very respectable 2nd place there for Cameron Dance. And Dance took his first win in May at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. I gotta be honest, I'm surprised that we haven't seen Dance win more. He's only gotten 1 win so far all season long. It's not something you're used to seeing when you've got the points lead by good 46, 83 over 3rd and 4th respectively. I think what's worth talking about for Cameron Dance and why he's been able to keep so consistent is his record as to how he's finished this season. Not one race has he finished outside of the top 10. Only 1 race he has finished outside of the top 5. And out of the remaining races on the season, he has finished 2nd in every single one except at Gateway. I think that speaks so highly to his consistency. And at the end of the day, it is consistency that wins championships when you don't have a playoff system in play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably why I like IndyCar racing, because you don't have any of those silly gimmicks like goes. It looks like who was that? That was Car 34. That was Stum having an issue. So it looks like it might have been a case of just getting on the power too much, or maybe just carried too much speed as well. It looks like it's a corner exit, and it looks like well, that was a weird one.
He was a bit unstable all the way through, wasn't he? It didn't look like he really ever got it settled.
It just looked like the corner entry is fine as we ride on board with him. Corner entry is fine. And then it seems to be... Corner exit seems to be getting on the power, and he gets a bit of a wiggle.
Yeah, I wobbled once, and then tried to immediately get back into it, never really let it settle. But you mentioned IndyCar not having gimmicks. Well, they might be headed that direction. They have a charter system that I think they're putting into play for 25 now, and...
Oh yeah, I think IndyCar's brought in a charter system. So basically, any teams or any new new teams that wanted to come into IndyCar, it's pretty much the plans are pretty much scuppered.
It's not the gimmickiest of gimmicks, but
it
doesn't bode well.
Because I believe there was a new car.
Oh boy! Johnny Garrett, where are you going with that one? Talk about aggression. He was taking all of the curbs away with that one.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looked like Johnny Garrett was trying to take a new route, trying to make a move on Jamie Wilson. That was, I wasn't sure if he was thinking he was doing rallycross or if it was just Yeah, that made me chuckle slightly. But yeah, going back to IndyCar and the charter thing, I think there was a new team planning to join the series. The excuse me, the Prema team from it races in Europe. So I don't know if that ruins their plans to join the series next season, or if they're still able to join.
Well, we'll wait and see, I guess, as
Well,
Lucas Laville really applying some pressure now to Ethan Akin. Battle for fourth is picking up here with only about 32 laps left to go at the line. So well into the second half of this race, and a lot of these battles are still nowhere close to being decided.
Yeah, so it looks like the 20 car of again, and Laval close together as they come across the start finish line, and again it's a case of pretty much Laval closing up on the back of again, but just not close enough to make a move. So it looks like these two are running the same sort of, maybe the same or basically similar downforce configurations.
And at a track like Fuji, those different configurations can really have an impact on how this race pans out, because it's not like your Road Americas, right, where you have a lot of long straightaways you can break away. It's not like that at all. You got a big mixture of where your straights are and where your sharp corners are. Oh, Rob Barnicow, slow on the racetrack. He has had an issue of some description coming to the hairpin.
Yeah, so I wonder if it's the same issue he's had before. He's looks fine on the entry. Oh, it's mid corner. He starts losing it. He just you saw he had a lot. That rejoin could have ended up being nasty.
On board with Barnicow. He locked up. That's what happened there. And this was with Jan Hoffman. And in fact, pulling in front of that actually helped Hoffman a little bit, because he was pretty much on the racing line, and that got him off the racing line real quick. So that did help him a little bit. But now, Hoffman, that did cost him a little bit of time, and now Ethan Akin is able to get right back to him.
Absolutely, as they come across the line, and looks like Agin's about to make him move up inside and get. Oh, he overshoots the entry, and that gives no, sorry, that was Laval that was making a move, and they overshot the entry, and it gave Ethan a chance to kind of undercut him and retake that position.
Ethan Akin saw that coming a mile off, and he just let it happen. Yeah, you could tell with that move, with how quickly he cut to the inside, you could tell right away, the second he hit the brakes, he knew there was no way Laville was going to make that corner. So he braked a little bit extra, allowed him to run wide, and he was able to take that spot back. But here comes Laville, battling back into Dunlop. That's a brave move going around the outside here. Ethan Akin goes in too deep. Laville is through. Laville takes away the fourth place spot. What an overtake.
Oh, that was a great move, and Laville, that was good. That was a good heads-up move by Laville. They saw that Akin was overshot his entry, and he done that. He slowed down early to get the undercut.
Did the same thing.
Yeah, he done the same thing. He got the switch back in the undercut, and they managed to get that move done. That was fantastic.
That was absolutely immaculate driving there from Louis Laville. Take another look. And in fact, we'll try to get a look at this one from the air here. You see him shoot in too deep. Laville just said, "Yep, I'll take that one away from you. Thank you very much, good sir."
Yeah, that was a fantastic move, and good. Oh, as we go back to live pictures again, Laval's lost the position, and actually, as I say that, I take that back. No one, he takes it back again.
Good grief! I mean, these guys, all of a sudden, they're kicking off. You'd think we're in the last 10 laps all of a sudden, with how aggressively they've started to pick it up and fight with each other for it. Meanwhile, Johnny Garrett closing again on Jamie Wilson. Does he make the look at the Team Chimera driver down to turn one? No, he will lift out early. Interesting call there. Oh, boy. Almost gets into the back of him, though. Meanwhile, Moosonen just up the road. New fastest lap, 1:23.29, less than a tenth off of his qualifying pole.
Yeah, and that gap back to second place, Cameron Dance is up to 11 seconds now. So, yeah, Moosonen is just absolutely pretty much on fire at the moment, and in command of this race so far. as I look at the battle between the Wilson and Garrett again, and yeah, there's pretty much nothing to separate these two. And again, it's one of those things, Nolan, with this track. So, some drivers use the low downforce configuration. Some drivers like to add a little bit of downforce for the high speed corners around this track, especially in the first sector. But it's nevertheless, it seems to be producing great racing, as proved by this battle between Wilson and Garrett. And as they head into the final corner, Wilson gets a good exit. So does Garrett as well, heading down the home straight. But again, it's going to come down to the Wilson running low downforce, and you see there, right there, though, it pulls away slightly.
I love IndyCar racing. Did I ever mention that? I love IndyCar racing. It is.
Yeah, me too.
It's a form of open wheel racing that is still so pure for the speeds that they run at, and you can tell how much these drivers are really tap dancing on the ragged edge of control, trying to fight for all of these positions. And we get to see incredible battles between different doctrines in terms of driving. Wilson, Chimera, they're usually ones that go for more high-speed setups. Aero-X, we've seen all season, they prefer higher downforce setups. And time after time after time again, they come to blows with each other on the racetrack in situations exactly like what we're seeing now.
Oh.
And it's never a guarantee that it's going to win out at one track over another.
Yeah, so sorry about that, Nolan. I thought Garrett was going to lunge up the inside there. So yeah, I had to hold my breath when I saw that. But yeah, thankfully I decided against it. But I'll say it. I'm happy to say it on the broadcast that yeah, IndyCar racing puts Formula 1 to shame, and that's it. I don't care what anyone says.
Trouble for Marshall Stanley.
Oh.
Yikes. A little bit of a twitch there. I think it may have just ran wide of that one, but we'll keep tabs on this battle for the 6th place spot. Mustinen. Oh, well, we'll talk about that in a minute as Johnny Garrett making another offensive lunge down the inside of Wilson. Not able to make a proper look for it, though. But again, Mustinen last time by, reset the fastest lap, 1:23.267. Now only about half of a second, not even half a second, half a tenth of a second off of his pole qualifying time. At this point, I would have to think he's going to take that time.
Yep, absolutely. And still, this battle between Wilson and Garrett is still going on as well as they head down to the chicane. Will Garrett try and make a move up the inside? He's closing up under the brakes, but again, it's just a proof of a high downforce. It has is good in the corners, but when you get onto the straight, it just Garrett loses touch slightly. So yeah, I think this battle between Wilson and Garrett could come down to the final set of pit stops, which is not too far away in the distant future.
Quarter of a second, down to 2/10. Does Johnny Garrett have what it takes to go for the send into turn number 1? You ride on board. He makes the peak. Is it enough of a commitment? Trying for it. Trying for it. Oh, contact between them this time. Left front to right side pod, but Wilson hangs on.
Oh, I thought I was going to end up in disaster between the both of them, because Garrett was being a bit forceful there, but obviously Wilson wants to keep his position, and he would not give up. But still, this is fantastic stuff. And as they head into the chicane, it's still Garrett closes up on the brake again, and still still can't get by Nolan. The question is, where can Garrett make the move? If he can make the move, I think his best opportunity, if he gets close enough to Wilson and gets a good exit in this final corner, he could try and make a move into turn 1. But we saw what happened the previous lap, or basically just before the start of this lap. They just about ended up in contact.
Second place, Cameron Dance right behind them. Rob Barnicow way off the racetrack at turn 1. Again, Garrett closes, looks, cannot commit. His problem is he's getting so close to being able to do something, but he just can't get close enough. I think he's got to try to take a wider exit out of the final corner to really try to diamond off that corner to cut back at him. I think it's also worth noting, we're not too far away for a second run of pit stops. That's only about 5 laps out, down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I'm, I have to say, if I'm Garrett known, I think it might be, I think it might be worth pitting maybe 1 lap earlier, maybe 1 or 2 laps early. Try and get that undercut on Jamie Wilson as he close up into the chicane, and Garrett closes up again. And they've got to be careful as well, because second place Cameron Dance is coming up to lap these two. And this is the thing with being in a battle as well. You don't want the one part of you wants to lift and let the leader by, but the other part of you doesn't want to lift at all, because you don't want to lose time to the car in front of you. So it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Cameron Dance gonna get around Johnny Garrett, and with blue flags in place, that has forced Johnny Garrett to give up valuable time to Jamie Wilson. The saving grace here, Wilson has to do the same by sacrificing his line through turn 1, and he's gonna have to live for turn 2, because it's not gonna go down well with race officials if Wilson fights him here through turn 2. So that actually helps Garrett close the gap in by about 0.2 of a second there. I think Garrett did that perfectly. He picked a very strategic place to let Dance through to ensure that he could come out on top in this little grudge match. They're thinking chess moves right now, effectively.
Yep, absolutely. And again, they're coming up to the chicane now. The strongest point of the track for Garrett, I believe, as he closes right up under braking again, and he closes right up on the back of Wilson. So yeah, I agree. No, I think Garrett's probably, if he can try and take a wide entry and dive in that corner off in the final quarter, he could try and get a good run down the home straight as one of the Vortex Sim Racing cars is into the pit lane.
That is Jan Hoffman, the third place runner that is currently into pit road. So Hoffman going to be in for his last stop of the day, and he's not the only one. Race leader Mustinen is in just behind. And in fact, here comes Johnny Garrett. So this will be a big one here, right? Johnny Garrett and Jamie Wilson. Garrett is absolutely going for the undercut strategy here, trying to get some fresh Firestones on and try to blitz by him with the pit stop window, and hopefully by enough that Wilson won't have the draft to run him down with that low downforce setup. The big question, is this going to work? It's going to be a big question.
Yeah, I think that's the only the only option you've got if you're Garrett. You've got to try something to get by Jamie Wilson, because it's obvious that Wilson's holding him up. As it looks like, yeah, we've got a few more takers into the pit lane now. We've got Ethan again into the pit lane. As well from, it looks like, 4th place.
Ethan Agan in again into pit road. Franz Josef, Stu, and Randy Shoemake both in as well. Second run of pit stops again underway. Cameron Dance currently with the race lead, but that is not going to last. He's still running net P2 on the racetrack. So Dance takes it to pit road this time. Jan Hoffman still making his way out on the racetrack. He'll take over the spot from Ethan Agan. No challenges there. Well, Dance sees what he can do.
Yep, and the gap with Mr. Dance and the Mustinen is about 29 seconds, but I think by the time that Dance gets his final pit stop all done, I think Mustinen will be well gone in the lead, and the gap should be about probably round about, before the pit stop it was about 10 seconds, 11 seconds, so as Dance comes out the pits, and I think, yeah, just coming out, the gap should be around about 10 seconds.
Lucas LaVille, the next taker, into pit road. Still waiting on Jamie Wilson to come down to the lane. Wilson at the moment. It's hard to say where he is at right now in relation to Johnny Garrett. Garrett, of course, is one lap down. Gap between them right now, 28.7 seconds. Johnny Garrett was not in the box for as long as some others was. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at something completely wrong. 44 seconds, that's the time. So right now, I think Garrett would actually get out by about 2 seconds ahead of Jamie Wilson as things stand. But we'll see if that'll stand up.
Yep, it looks like Stanley's into the pits as well. So, yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down race for Stanley. He was having a great race with Garrett in the early stages, but unfortunately that mistake, it just, yeah, it kind of hindered his race a little bit. But still, he's still inside the top 10, which is still a decent result as he's about to leave the pit lane. And I think that looked like a short stop, Nolan.
Trouble for Rob Barnicow off the road. Taking a quick look at what happened here to Barnicow and more. Looking like there may have been a couple cars that have gone off the road here at this section of the racetrack. So, seeing what's what. Barnicow went a bit hot, and he just shot out wide. I like that he hit the brakes, allowed Ethan to get through. Recognized he's going to rejoin right in front of him. So did a good job kind of backing off there. Here's the battle for third, Jamie Wilson and Jan Hoffman. But the tricky thing here, Jan Hoffman, or Jamie Wilson, sorry, has not come down to pit road yet. In fact, he's one of two now that hasn't come down to pit road. As here comes Barnicow.
Yeah, and I think if you're Wilson, you've got to think about it. You're not really in a battle with Hoffman, so I think it's probably wise of Jamie to maybe not make a big deal of a fit or a big fight of it with Hoffman. So I think if you're Jamie, you've got to think of that battle with Garrett, because it's technically that's who he's fighting against.
Still watching Jamie Wilson, because remember, he is the car that we are currently watching in that battle between himself and Johnny Garrett for what will end up being around the 5th place spot when they come out of pit road. Wilson has been losing time, though, back to Johnny Garrett, and I don't see anything that would stop Garrett here from breaking by Wilson pretty easily when he comes out of pit road, especially now that he's in a battle with Lucas LaVille. But you can tell he doesn't want to let LaVille by either, because he knows he's in that pit battle right now with Garrett. Here he comes into pit road. We'll flash that track map up, and we'll show you the battle between Johnny Garrett and Jamie Wilson. There's Johnny Garrett just approaching Dunlop.
Yeah, I think Garrett should be able to jump Wilson, because yeah, obviously Garrett's got fresher tyres, which means he can put in some quick laps, and Johnny had some clear air as well, so I think that would definitely help.
Wilson, though, a very short stop there, only 10 seconds compared to Garrett's 11.8. Coming out of pit road, short fuel in the car, he's got him by a good margin at that. Garrett nowhere close to Jamie Wilson.
I honestly thought that Johnny might have jumped him, because just because he put. Oh, as I say that, Johnny made a mistake in turn 1.
That was a pretty big mistake at that, so I think that may have just destroyed any chances of Garrett coming back at Jamie Wilson here.
Yeah, looking at the replay on board Johnny, and I wonder if this is a case of heading into turn 1 just a little bit too hot, and it's he's probably lost at mid-corner. As he turns into turn one. Oh,
wow.
oh, that looked like it looked like the rear end just snapped on him.
Probably locked the rears. When you saw how hot he was entering as well. He was not making that corner. Well, racing action continues on, and now we've got other battles on the racetrack that drivers are no doubt going to be looking to worry about. Let's ride on board here with Thomas Mustonen as he continues to lead the way from the Fuji Speedway. Still under green flag conditions from the Fuji Speedway for the PRS Fuji race, round number 12 of the Classic Indycar Series of the 2024 campaign. Cameron Dance, looking like he has just had an issue somewhere on the racetrack a couple laps ago. He's coming through Coca-Cola turn. Too much on the exit, spun it around, but was lucky enough to lock it down. Didn't hit anything, lost several seconds, otherwise no harm, no foul for Dance. Mustonen continuing to lead the way. The closest battle pack still remains Hoffman through Egan, about 3 seconds separated a lot of them. You've also got under 3 seconds between Garrett and Wilson. But otherwise, everyone just kind of running themselves all on their own. If you did miss much of this race, don't you worry. ESTV will be rebroadcasting this race next week on all of their distribution platforms. You can find out where those platforms are at estv.co. Ryan, it's been a long season for this field, and there's not a lot of time left to go in this season either. I mean, there's only 2 races left after this one. A run of the Legacy Phoenix Raceway mimicking the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200. That was taking place back in 1986, 200 laps around the track from Avondale, Arizona. And then, of course, the month of November, pole day on the 3rd, bump day on the 10th, the ever-coveted Indy 500 on the 17th to cap out the season. 2 ovals to finish things out, and both of them just as thrilling as the last. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely is, and 2 great tracks to round out the season. Obviously, Indianapolis has got a special history and a special place in the IndyCar community. Everyone's pretty much knows what the Indy 500 is, and it's one of the, for me anyway, it's one of the best oval tracks on iRacing and on the IndyCar in general. And it's a race I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we get a good spectacle there to round out the season. But 2 oval races as well. It should, I think, the 2 oval races to finish out the season should it'll make the championship battle interesting. But I think if you're Cameron Dance, you kind of want to try and keep out of trouble at these 2 races and try and get that championship wrapped up and not have any problems. As we look at Mustonen coming around the final corner, and what can you say about Mustonen? Nolan, he's pretty much been in command for the whole race, and he's not really been challenged. This man was certainly challenged for a bit by Johnny Garrett, who's dropped that slightly. But Jamie Wilson, they pretty much been handling that pressure. As you look at a replay of Wilson to see what happened, and it looks like he had a bit of a sideways moment there. As I say that, I was about to press Jamie, but he ended up slipping up.
And that lets Johnny Garrett through by 10 seconds now as a result of that one. So Johnny Garrett well and truly secure with a 6th place spot. Dozen laps left to go. You know what, we talked a little bit earlier about the 2025 season. Why don't we talk a bit more in depth about what that's going to look like? The season kicks off March 16th of 25 with the Gold Coast, the replication of the Gold Coast IndyCar Grand Prix from '91. That'll be at Phillip Island. A 2-week break takes you then to the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from Barber Motorsports Park from 2013. 90 laps, but Barber has long been praised as a real driver's track, and it's easy to see why. These cars there, I've driven before, it's a handful. Another 2 weeks off, one for Easter, and then the Kansas Speedway. Kansas plays host to the first oval race. That's going to be wild. Of course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's road course makes another return on May 11th, and it's 2 weeks off. The last race before the summer break will be at the Iowa Speedway, and then it's an oval extravaganza when we return in August to Michigan and Kentucky. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, we've seen that once this season. Mustonen dominated that race. We'll no doubt be looking to do so again when we return on August 31st. Then it's into September for the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Long Beach Street Circuit on September 28th, and then Pole, Bump Day, and the Indy 500 to close out October. No month of November this time, as the final race will be held on October 26th. Now, this is, of course, just the provisional schedule. no guarantee that this is going to be the final schedule for 2025, but that is at least the provisional schedule that's been laid out. It's a pretty good schedule. I would be really excited to be able to call that one as well. So there's a lot to be excited about with the Classic IndyCar Series right now.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. And the Classic IndyCar series has been around for a long time. It's one of those series that I've watched for a long time, and it's always produced fantastic racing. And hopefully next year is Nolan, we get a bigger entry list and bigger turnout. And I think if we get a bigger turnout for next season, I think the racing will be even better.
I do hope the turnout improves. I remember back before certain events with certain companies that will go unsaid as of now occurred. This field was sporting, mid-20s, sometimes even low 30s fields. It was a great show. Not to say this isn't a great show. I mean, this race today has been phenomenal. This whole season has been phenomenal for their first season back to broadcasting. But you can tell there's a lot of notable names that have been absent. Joshua Chin, I think, being a key one that has been missing throughout much of the season. We saw him race, I think, twice. Once for sure when he won the season opener by a country mile by 36 seconds. But the Classic IndyCar Series, I think, could see a huge resurgence now that we're fully back. And I really hope that more people show some interest, because these cars are a thrill to drive. It's a very unique experience, and for these guys, I think they would not complain about more competition, because it means more chances to be able to really test your skill in one of the more difficult cars to drive on the iRacing service.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those cars that's very difficult to drive, but when you get on top of it, it's very rewarding. And on the road courses are great fun. On the ovals, this car's I would say terrifying, but terrifying in a fun way. And again, if you get on top of it on the ovals, it's an absolutely awesome car.
Franz Josef Stum set his personal best lap this last time by a 1:25.04. So Stum currently running 9th again, picking up the pace a little bit. Not like it's going to do much, though. He's got 35 seconds to Marshall Stanley up the road. That's a tall order to overcome that gap in less than 10 laps.
Yeah, less than 10 laps to go. I think I'd say, I don't think he'll be able to close that down, but you never know. But at the moment, it's still Thomas Muston and lead at the moment from Cameron Dance, and they look at one of the Vortex Sim Racing cars as well. And again, I have to say, Nolan, this livery looks really nice. I do like that pink and white. It looks it's a good mixture. It looks like Stum's had a mistake.
Yeah, big trouble for Stum here. That's at the hairpin, I think, that he's just looped it, isn't it? Don't think we'll be able to get a proper angle what happened there. Didn't see it flash above the record long enough for advantage. So, but I'm willing to bet probably lost it on the approach.
Yeah, I've tried to find out where that was. I think it was in the final sector by the looks of it. But looking at Laval at the moment, you pretty much all by himself now. Not really anyone challenging him from behind. So. Yeah, Laval, I think just trying to probably just keep it on the road and just try and get to the finish. But I think if he makes it to the finish in 4th place, that'll be a good haul of points.
Franz Josef Stum around again. So the number 34 car not having an ideal run for him. This is at Coca-Cola, just lost it on the apex. Swung it out wide, but he's able to get it back under control. So Franz Josef Stum still in a bit of the struggle bus right now, but he's doing his best. He's doing what he's got. He's doing his best with what he's got to work with right now. We talk about what's coming on up on Green Flight TV over the next few days. Tomorrow, The High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Premier Series swings out to Rockingham Speedway. The Rock playing host to round number 4 at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. They had a great run at Chicagoland last week, and it's going to be a good one as well. The Old Miss World Cup Series kicks off playoff season at Homestead Miami Speedway on Tuesday nights, and the Beer League finally back. It's only been a 1 week break for them, but they're back with their preseason race at the Circuit de l'Ethanol. That'll be coming on up this Wednesday. They've made the switch to the Spec Racer Fords for this season. That's going to be a fun ride. Don't miss that one, 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday night. Speed Cup Series also kicking off playoff season at Talladega this coming Thursday night, and as well, SRA finally returns to Great Flight TV. They've been off season since about May now, and they finally returned with the Track Hawk 50 at Bristol Motor Speedway for their brand new mini stock series. 3 heats followed by a nice long feature. Should be a good one. And then the Saturday after, the VSCA Sports Car Championship finally closes out their season as well with a 10-hour endurance race on Braselton, Georgia, and their rendition of Petit Le Mans for the 3rd year running. So a lot coming up that we can be excited about. Marshall Stanley has had an issue.
Yep, Marshall Stanley. I was just watching in game. It looks like he had an issue, and they turned here, and he just clipped. As soon as he clips that inside curb and tries to go on the power, it just looped him round, and manages to get going. Has a bit of a bouncy ride over the sausage curb, but manages to get going again.
Lucas Laville has been trying to close up to Jan Hoffman for the last little while, so the Frenchman see what he can do to reel this gap in. He did close by, 3.7 seconds on the last lap. So I think that says that Hoffman definitely had a problem on the last lap, which is why we see Lucas Laville being able to close in that much. Because you don't just close in 3.7 seconds on a road course unless your opponent has had a major problem.
Yeah, I was watching that as well. I wonder, I never saw what happened, but it looks like I wonder if Hoffman's maybe struggling with the car now, and they also made him with a mistake. With a mistake to add to that as well? It looks like he's lost a heap of time, and it's allowed his teammate Laval to close up to the back of him. Now the question is, will they apply any team orders? Or basically, the only team order is you're allowed to race, but don't take each other out.
Who knows? I mean, they have raced each other before. They have been quite successful in doing so. 75 laps to go. 75 laps to go? 5 laps to go. We're working lap 70. So, oh boy. What the world was that? Johnny Gare with a weird one. Coming up to the hairpin. Right on board with this one. It's a weird little wiggle that he gave.
Yeah, that looks like the same mistake I'm not sure who it was, but the same mistake that someone else made there. But this time it's on corner entry, and I think it's that outside curb that's caused him to maybe go round.
This is a tricky situation for Laville, because I think he's pretty clearly faster than Jan Hoffman. The problem that he's got right now is the fact that Hoffman is in a much better position championship-wise. He's only 46 behind Cameron Dam. There's only 2 races left, but that is still within striking distance. So, how eager are you going to be to fight with your teammate? Lucas Laville is the first driver behind Hoffman in the points, but he's 148 out from the race leader. That's a long way back. And I don't think that's enough to close in. I think Laville's out of the championship. If I'm Laville and I'm thinking team player, I'm thinking about letting Jan Hoffman go to try to reel down the 65-point deficit.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. It's probably that. I was thinking something similar. And just behind these two, you've got the leader, Thomas Mustonen, and closing up behind these guys as well. So, like, these 2 drivers probably won't make a big deal of it trying to stay in front. I think they'll just let Mustonen go and just try and basically just watching the ball. I don't think he's not closing the gap on Hoffman that quickly. So I think if you're those two, if it gets to like maybe the final 2 laps, I would probably just settle where they are and just finish where they are. as it looks like Mustinen's coming up behind them. But I think Mustinen as well is not really in a hurry to get by, considering he's got a 30-second lead. So doing anything risky at this stage of the race is, yeah, there's no point taking any risks and throwing that win away.
I don't think Jan Hoffman and LaVille are too concerned either, because again, they've got, 6 seconds back to Ethan Akins, so they're just trying to focus on managing that guy. They've got 50 seconds up to Cameron Dance up the road. So there's no point in trying to push hard for more time where you're not going to find it. So he is, at this point, just trying to get to the end of this race in one piece. Marshall Stanley coming down to pit road for a 3rd time. That's an unusual one. Stanley too short on fuel. He couldn't go the distance. Or it's not. That's a drive-through penalty. Has Stanley just hit the incident limit, perhaps?
Yeah, that was what. Excuse me. That's what I was thinking. I wonder if Stanley's reached that incident limit and maybe got some off tracks as well to add to that. And yeah, unfortunately he's got a drive through. So yeah, that's a sting in the tail.
Well, 20 off tracks is what SDK is reporting for Marshall Stanley. Now, again, sometimes SDK be a little overzealous sometimes in reporting on what is and isn't an off track, but more often than not, it's pretty correct and honest on that. So that would be enough to put you over, I think, the 17x limit. So that's unfortunate news for Stanley. The good news is he didn't lose any positions. And at this point, it'd be hard for him to. He would have to spin out again to fall back enough to lose one to Franz Josef Stum. So he's not out of the woods yet, but still good to go for the most part. Meanwhile, a 1:23.16 for Mustinen, and that is only 300ths off of his qualifying time.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. And yeah, Mustinen's pretty much been on it from the start. He's just he's not let up when it comes to his pace, and yeah, just pushing as much as possible to keep that gap behind him, which is up to 36 seconds now, pretty much. So yeah, Mustinen's pretty much been on it all the time. And well, if there was a vote for driver of the season, if he done the full season, I think Mustinen would probably be my driver of the season, just because he's been pretty much yeah. Any time he's raced so far, he's been pretty much on it from the start.
Only one lap to go this time around. Mustinen through Panasonic for the second to last time tonight. He has lapped every single driver except Cameron Dance, and he has got nearly half a lap on Dance as well. Just like it was when he came out to Canada, this race has been pure and utter domination from Mustinen. He's working his way through Coca-Cola Bend for the final time with absolutely nothing to worry about up the road. You have to wonder what's going on in the head of Mustinen at this point in time. He came into this season a little bit late to the party, but boy, he has been putting together some stellar results this season. It's just a shame we have not been able to see him make a better run of things so far. He currently sits 9th place, 3 wins on the season, a 4th at Michigan and a 17th in the DNF at Pocono. But he has won Canada. He won Road America. And he is looking like he is ready to take one final win on the road courses this season. Off of the final turn, Mustinen will take 3 in a row. It's the hat trick for the driver out of Finland. He wins the PRS Fuji race from Japan. Cameron Dance will look to pick up the number 2 spot, 38 seconds down to the field. Ryan, this has been a great one this afternoon.
Yeah, it's been a it's been a fantastic race, and yeah, plenty of, the racing might have not been close up at the front, but the battle between Jamie Wilson, Stanley, and Garrett as well at one point was fantastic to watch as Cameron Dance comes across the line to pick up a good haul of points to help in his championship quest.
Cameron Dance keeping that consistent streak alive right now. We talked earlier about how many second place finishes he has had so far this season. This is his 8th second place finish that he's had this season in the last 12 races. I mean, that is unbelievable consistency, especially considering the other results consists of 1st, 5th, and 7th. Consistency like no tomorrow. And with that will bring us to a close of racing action here this afternoon. So we are going to get the chance now to take a rundown of your official post-race results and show you how everything rounds on out from the next race here at the Fuji Speedway to close out the Road Course Championship. Mustinen takes win number 4 of the season and his 3rd in a row. Cameron Dance will no doubt look to take the Road Course Championship. Not confirmed yet, but effectively has that one in the bag. Hoffman finishes 1 lap down. LaVille in 4th, Ethan Hagen in 5th, Johnny Garrett 6th, and Jamie Wilson rounds out the top half of the field here, Ryan.
Absolutely, Jamie Wilson finishing in 7th with Marshall Stanley in 8th, and then Franz Josef Stum in 9th, and then 10th place is Randy Schumich with Jack Turner 11th, and then Rob Bernical 12th, and then actually Rob Bernical was the first over of retirements, but followed by Luis Zambelli and then Rafael Rodriguez.
What a wild ride that these drivers have had this afternoon. We'll get the chance to talk to all of them in just a little while. We'll take a step back when we return. It's the post-race show from Fuji. Welcome back to the Fuji Speedway, where we have got ourselves ready for the post-race show after what was a pretty crazy race that we had so far this afternoon, and we'll look to kick things off first and foremost with none other than the driver that finished 3rd place this afternoon, Jan Hoffman. He comes home and takes away a pretty solid podium finish for him here this afternoon. Jan, it was a good drive for you. You're able to stay out in front of your teammate Luke LaVille in the closing stages. You're able to battle it out with Hagen and take away that 3rd place spot for the last road course race of the season. And with that, you should lock away 3rd place for the road course championship as well. Talk to us tonight.
Yeah, today was good. That I was pretty good that I made the jump that early on Ethan and could build the gap. Unfortunately, I spun spun 2 times, which made today a bit more difficult. First Ethan could close the gap to me, and then in the end, Lucas caught me nearly in the end. So, but other than that, yeah, it was like the last few road courses. You were racing the track more than any other car. So it was still, yeah, very, very drenching.
It's been far from the easiest schedule on the road course side of things so far this season, and some pretty unorthodox tracks as well that we've seen. We don't often see IndyCars out at Fuji Speedway too much, but you take a look at how things have gone so far throughout the season. It's been a good championship so far overall. There's still 2 races left to go, both of them on the American side, both of them on the ovals. Do you think you'll have something for the top 2 by season's end?
I don't think I can beat Cameron. I think at this point his gap is just too big. Despite him missing 2 races, I think I also had 2 DNFs. So yeah, there's nothing to gain there on the drop weeks. But on Ethan, I think I have a chance to hopefully make P2. But in the end, there's also the Indy 500. So winning that would also be a good end to the season. So I try to do my best there and don't think about the overall championship as much.
Well, fingers crossed you'll be able to get yourself in there with some good final runs throughout the course of the season. For now, though, 3rd place in the Road Course Championship entering, and probably that's where it's going to be standing once we leave here this afternoon. Anybody you want to shout out for getting you that 3rd place for the championship on the Road Course side?
Oh yeah, I want to shout out the team, Vortex. As always, preparing this car is a team effort, and we all try to do as much as we can now free time on the car, preparing and sharing thoughts. So yeah, and also it was a good team effort with Lucas finishing P4, Marshall finishing a race for once, so that's also good for him. So yeah, good team effort.
Congratulations on 3rd. We'll see you in a couple weeks at Phoenix. Jan Hoffman comes home number 3 this afternoon. We'll bring it on down to Cameron Dance, the current points leader, and now looking potentially be your road course champion as well. The driver that has taken his 8th second-place finish of the season, standing by with Ryan Walker.
Yeah, first off, Cameron, congratulations on the 2nd place. It looked like you had the pace, but basically Thomas just had that slight edge when it came to race pace, but still. 2nd place, it's another good haul of points for the championship. And how was that race for you?
Yeah, it was alright. We had some decent pace. We're actually pretty much on par with Thomas as far as raw pace goes. We were lacking probably a little bit in the last sector, I'm pretty sure, based on the way that the Delta was looking. And otherwise, we were pretty much equal from turn 1 all the way through to that last nasty bit. So yeah, we're pretty happy with the result, to be honest. Obviously, Ethan's finished a few more positions back, so that's another gain in the championship by a nice little margin as well. So that helps us in towards into the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, and we saw when Thomas was pulling away, he had probably about 1 point, a 10-second gap, and then it basically went up to around 30 seconds after the last set of pit stops, I believe. Did you make a mistake, or was it just Thomas was just that slight bit just quicker than you?
Yeah, I actually ended up taking too much of the inside curve at turn 2, and it smacked me out sideways. So that wasn't too ideal. But after that, it was pretty much just there's not even 10 laps to go, so I was just in cruise control mode. And then with 3 or so laps to go, I was like, I'll try back it off and see if I can get fastest lap. And it didn't quite work in my favor, as Thomas went a little bit quicker, but it is what it is. Try to get that extra bonus point when you can.
Yeah, I'm just quickly looking at the points for the road championship. It looks like you've got that wrapped up now by the looks of it. So yeah, you've got, I guess, one championship wrapped up, but overall, with the final 2 rounds of the season being 2 oval tracks with Phoenix, and then the last round at the Indianapolis for to round out the season. What's your mindset? What's your plan for the 2 oval races? Obviously, road and the oval races are two different kettles of fish, if you like. So is there a different mindset going into those races, and it's just basically play the long game, think of the championship?
Yeah, for Phoenix, it's probably just do what we've been doing pretty much all season, try and finish ahead of who we need to and score more points to have a bit of a buffer going into Indy. And then I guess Indy's going to be somewhat similar, play a little bit conservative, but at the same time, it's the Indy 500, so you got to go and just give it a red hot go and see what happens. Obviously don't want a DNF, but going to give it a red hot go. We know our car's pretty quick there from last year, so we'll see what the Iconic boys roll out there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in these last 2 rounds. I'm looking forward to Phoenix. It'll be fascinating to see what the car drives like there and obviously what sort of racing it produces. But yeah, so far so good. It's been no complaints and just need to keep doing what we're doing.
Good stuff, and yeah, hopefully in the ovals as well, you can take some inspiration from another NZ driver, Scott McLaughlin. So hopefully you can do your stuff in the ovals. And before you let you go, Cameron, any shout outs or thank yous you want to give?
Yeah, obviously shout out to the whole team as always, helping us out and giving us plenty of support along the way, and everybody on the car, obviously Hybrid Tune, Team and Twig, Spite CRC, some 3D, Sim Racing Bible, everybody for tuning up, and all the committee members for making it a really, really good series and race, and you boys for the awesome podcast as always.
And we appreciate the kind words, Cameron, and again, congratulations on second place. I'd look forward to seeing you on track at Phoenix Raceway in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
Oh, that was Cameron Dance, second place finisher, joining us, and I believe that's the last of the drivers to be interviewed, Nolan.
Yeah, no sign of your 4-time race winner so far 2024 this time around, but regardless, everything has come down, I think, about predictably for the championship at this point in time for the road course side of things. But there's still 2 races to go. Phoenix Raceway comes on up. As we've seen before, Ryan, Indycars and Phoenix is a dangerous combination, especially on that legacy layout. I think we're only just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about the last 2 races were about being ovals. I think, as Cameron said, it's for him anyway. He's going to give it a red hot go in the last 2 races, especially at Indy. And I think it was a good way to sum up pretty much his mindset. And yeah, the last 2 oval races could throw a spanner in the championship battle. And yeah, hopefully it should be a good one for the last 2 oval races.
We'll see how everything's going to pan on out when we go racing a little while later over in Avondale, Arizona. For now, it's time for us to say farewell. What a wild ride it has been this afternoon. Don't forget to check out the High Tide Race League Premier Series from Rockingham, as well as the playoff seasons kicking off for OMSRL and Speed this week. And then returning series with the Beer League and the SRA brand new mini stock series. Both series going to be a fun one. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflighttv.com. My name is Nolan Rempel, alongside Ryan Walker. We'll see you later when we swing back out to the ovals in Arizona.